But
recording in progress.
Yeah, good.
Here
See,
we are.
it, third time's a charm.
Jam sesh, jam sesh. This is not the greatest podcast. It's only a tribute.
Give it time. Give it time. It's cheaper than therapy. That's
All right, man. Here we are. We're in frame. There's audio, there's input, there's output, there's video.
You sound like $1 million on my side, so this is a good start.
Dude, my pipes are like honey.
Man.
I prize myself on it.
That mic is doing you credit. It's nice. Sounds
Dude, where do we start?
Crispy.
Is there like a do we say a prayer?
Yeah, dude. Bless my Coke Zero, man. Bless my Coke Zero to.
Dude, are you drinking Coke Zero?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, you're making me feel like I need to pull this out. I don't drink soda at all, but I saw this today in my co-working space. Look at this. When was the last time you had a cherry Coke?
Oh man, that looks like heaven right there, man. That looks awesome.
Dude, it's got 792 grams of sugar, but maybe this is what the occasion calls for. We got the audio working, dude.
That's right. And I had an experience on this, like, I don't know, it was probably 10 or 12 years ago at this point, where I was like, I mean, because I've always been a soda guy my whole life. Like, I love the bubbles, like the feel of the carbonation. Like, it's just like, and so I had this epiphany, just like a short, like a minor epiphany where I was like, all right, diet soda tastes like crap.
Yeah.
But I drank so much soda that, like I was not healthy. Like I was gaining weight. Like my metabolism had completely hit the wall, and it was like, all right, dude, you can either be fat or you can risk cancer.
Yeah.
And I switched over to the cancer route.
Bravo. Well done. Like a true American. You're like, I'm not going to be fat.
Yeah. So apparently the risk of cancer was better than, and the thing is like, I'm not in that much better shape now. So I don't know. I don't know what good it did at all.
10 years of drinking crappy soda.
That's right.
That's funny.
Those bubbles are like my lifeblood, man. It's bad.
Dude, that's so funny. So I got a little aside. When I was I grew up in Escondido, California. When I was 16 years old, I got my very first job at the Family Fun Center, which is like the most San Diego thing to do possible, right? Like putt golf,
right?
Go-karts, like all the stuff.
Yep.
And part of the gig was you could get as much soda as you wanted from the fountain. And you could play as many video games as you wanted. And dude, after that job, working there a year and change, I never really wanted soda again in my life. It like cured me. you ran yourself 244s of Mountain Dew a day.
That's a good life, dude.
Oh, terrible.
Your like 16-year-old self is speaking my current language. That's just,
Well, I don't knock it either because I did it. I had access for a while, but I've never been a big video game guy either. I mean, as a kid, I really we didn't have any consoles in my house, and so it was like a treat to get to go to your friend's house and just zone out for like 3 or 4 hours and play video games. And then I don't know, coming out of that job, I was like done with it too. So
was it an arcade also?
Yeah.
Like, was that
huge
part
arcade?
Okay. Yeah.
The noise, dude. Like just walking in and out, the smell of the arcade carpet, the black carpet with like the neon shapes on it, like that hides every piece of gum and everything.
Yeah. The juji fruit that got stuck, dude. When I was growing up, we had Funplex, which sounds like it was pretty much the same thing.
Putt, batting cages,
roller, like a skating rink too.
Oh my gosh, better.
So incorporate that madness into the mix and like go from ripping Spider-Man on the arcade and then go into the arcade, or not the arcade, but the freaking skating rink and like skate your face off to the Mortal Kombat soundtrack.
That was like a parent's dream. Like they like drop you off. You're like, see you tomorrow, honey.
That's right. And that was back when like, you had to have a quarter with you to use the payphone to tell them it was time to, right. And so there was no tracking. Like we could have just walked across town from, like they could have dropped us off and we could have been like, all right, the world's our oyster. Where are we going? Yeah.
It's crazy. I know this is just one of the hallmarks of getting old, man, but I look back now, 43 years old. I look back at like the stuff I was allowed to do when I was a kid was frightful. Like I remember on a vacation to Hawaii, I was the youngest kid it was like my grandma and grandpa and then my mom and her brother. you know, both grown and had their own families at that point. And
Right.
then her brother had like 4 or 5 kids. I forget. I can't remember how many cousins I have. I think I have 5 cousins on that side. And then my sister and I were the only two that were allowed of my family because my other siblings were younger. But I was 9, and I can remember going with my parents to the beach, like outside of our condo, and them just being like, all right, and like laying down and taking a nap, and me putting my little snorkeling gear on and just swimming out and like snorkeling and stuff. I have memories of snorkeling, and I look
Yeah.
back now and do the math, and I'm like, wait a minute, I was 9 years old. Like, it's not like I was far, far,
Right.
but I was like in the ocean while they were just passed out, like taking a nap. Anyway,
That like growing up in that era was I feel like we hit the jackpot, honestly. Like it was like
totally.
it was the perfect window that
Yeah.
kind of like if you had your adolescence like in the 90s, dude,
Yeah.
what a time.
I know. Corduroy
It,
pants and like a middle part in your hair and just grunge music and a chain wallet and some flannels and like freedom. Dude, I
freedom.
remember this is more on par with adolescence. This would be when I was probably 13 to 14. I remember my parent, like, remember, dude, rollerblading. I
Oh
remember
yeah.
my parents letting me put on my rollerblades and like rollerblade across town. Like I would rollerblade to the mall,
Yeah.
which is like miles and miles away through all these like streets that don't have like a shoulder or a sidewalk where I was just kind of like sharing the road with the cars, you know, my friend, there was a
Yeah.
couple of hills that we'd like bomb down and we were like bailing out into the grass sometimes, but we did this kind of on the reg and we, you know, we got good at it. We picked out the routes. There was no Google Maps. Like we had to kind of like look at the Thomas Brothers guide and then figure out like, it was kind of raw, but
Yeah.
good memories.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell my kids about that all the time because I'm like, I mean, we let them walk to their friends' houses and stuff that are you know like in the neighborhood or kind of near or whatever, and you know as they get older, expand their horizons a little bit. But I'm like, I get nervous about it now, not because I'm afraid something's going to happen to them, but because they're going to get like bugged by like some mom or dad that's like, "Oh, why are you alone?" And it's like because I'm 12 years old, leave me alone, you know.
Yeah.
But
Like present your ID card,
yeah,
citizen. Why are you traveling? And from whence cometh you? And where are you going?
oh man, dude, our old neighborhood out in before we moved out here in Bluffdale, Utah, was so
Yeah.
bad about that kind of stuff. Like they would get on the neighborhood Facebook page and be like, "Whose kids were these?" They were at the park, and they would take this like picture of the kids and be like, "They were misbehaving." And it's like, you just took a picture of a random child that wasn't yours and put it on the internet, dude. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Where lies the greater sin? Tell me.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
just funny.
That's
I
where
don't know.
kids are supposed to go, is the park.
Yeah, and they're supposed to go there, so they're leaving you alone, and I don't know. It's just different world.
Yeah. I I gotta send you this thing offline. There's a YouTube video that I found, which is it's called Summer in the '70s, which predates you and I. This is like, oh, you know, this is a few years before our time, but some of the nostalgia that I'm sure you'll still be able to relate to was like so spot on. It was all about like throwing bikes down in the front yard. The people were like, no one ever had a play date. Like you never called to like arrange a play date. Like
Right.
parents didn't, they couldn't be bothered with that. Like they just sent you out and you would just go door to door and like ring the doorbell and be like, can Johnny come out and play? If they said
Yep.
no, then you just go to the next house.
Yeah.
And like, it was just saying all this stuff that was heartwarming and endearing, but also just cracking me up. And it was talking about like, if you didn't know where the gang was, you just like look for the bikes.
Uh huh.
That's where they were. And it was also showing all this stuff about like bike ramps, like little like just janky ass like little 2x4s with like one board,
Yep.
and these kids just like sending it, dude. And then
Yeah.
it was like, and parents didn't care. This is like a guy narrating right on this YouTube video,
Sure.
over the top of some photos, and he's like, parents didn't care. Like they you know, who do you think took all these photos? They were the ones that were like telling us to go for it. And in a couple of photos, there's like a dad sitting back there on the porch while his like kids like flying off this ramp, trying to like fly over 3 or 4 people laid down on the ground,
Yes.
you know, to like clear.
Yep. 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 Glorious, glorious era, dude.
I know. I'll have to send it to you, but anyway,
I laugh about that stuff, but like the thing, I look back at it now and I'm like, that's where I learned my interpersonal skills too. It's a thing because like you know you left the house, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Your parents were like, all
can
right,
just hide online.
try and be back by 7 or something. I guess it's like 10:30 in the morning. You're like, all right,
Yeah.
but like the amount of like fist fights between kids and stuff that I witnessed, just like, oh, the football game kind of went awry and people kind of went a little buck, like. And then the next day they saw you'd see him at school or you'd see him somewhere else and like things were fine. You figured out how to work it out. I don't know, just
Yeah.
now, my wife and I joke often about how like we're parenting in the wrong era. Cause like
Yeah.
I harken back to that stuff and I'm like, no, let them work it out. But we're getting phone calls from like other parents and stuff like, well, so and so said that your kid did X, and it's like, okay, well, did
Yeah.
your kid talk
Sit
to
down
my
and have
kid?
an intervention.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
did your child consider talking to mine about it? Because maybe that would work. You know, maybe they would learn something.
Too scary.
Yeah, far be it from
Talking.
me to tell that to the other child. But we always tell our kids like, don't go tattletale. Just talk to your friends if you're having an issue. And it
Yeah.
seems to fall on deaf ears
How
once
old are
that
your
leaves our
kids now?
house. We have our boys where this is applicable are 13 and 11.
Okay. Mine are 11 and 9. So you got a couple years.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Funny, man.
yep.
Well, dude, what do you want to jam on, man? Like I got a couple things written down. This is, by the way, for anybody that may ever happen to watch this, this is totally raw and unscripted. I have no idea. I haven't talked to Doug. We haven't planned this out really. I mean, we've texted a few times like, hey, let's meet up. But yeah, I have no idea. We just thought it'd be fun to jam on life in whatever, handful of things are going on. So this is me and you catching up and a few voyeurs watching as well, maybe. Or maybe not.
Psychos. Well, what the heck is wrong with you people? Who's
Maybe
looking
not.
at this? Yeah, dude, you got a couple things. I have a couple that are very just light. But I'm curious your perspective on. And yeah, you just want to volley them back and forth and see what's what. Yeah, you go.
Because I got a couple that are interesting. I got some like real jams, some actual like stuff that I'm like pretty amped on right now.
All right, hit me.
First thing is I'm in a new house right now, which you won't know because you never visited me. We haven't seen each other in the flesh for like 10 years or 8 years or something.
Something like that.
I think it's been 28 since 2018, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
No, 2017.
Like your Colorado hoodie, by the way, just as an aside, I like the hoodie. The Colorado hoodie's a nice touch.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, dude. That just like makes me happy.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Colorado native right there.
Someday I'll go back.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. You wouldn't have seen my old place, but I moved, I don't know, 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then I left. I flew to San Antonio and had Thanksgiving. I live in Boulder. Anybody that might be watching this and not know, but I flew from Colorado to San Antonio, had Thanksgiving, came back to a bunch of boxes, no heat. The heat was like off in the house, dude. It was 30s in my house.
Oh, but it was functional. It just was off.
No. It could not go on. I was like working on it for a while.
Shoot. Okay.
And then the next day the guy came and fixed it. But for that one night, I was like, pulled out the sleeping bags and like went to bed and like I put a base layer on and like a beanie and gloves. Actually, I didn't have gloves, and so I put wool socks on my hands at night. Like this is on my mattress in the back, like nothing's set up. It's just all boxes. But anyway, it's been a couple weeks now. And so slowly we're digging out of the boxes, but yeah, the move has been cool. One thing that I don't think maybe I have shared this with you in a text message. And so you would have some idea of this. I probably have. Did I tell you about my 90-day PhD?
No.
Okay. So I using ChatGPT, this is going back, I guess, since like the beginning of October. Okay. Dude, I had ChatGPT create for me a curriculum for a 90-day PhD program on escaping the need for external validation.
Okay.
And finding a life that's worth going all in for. So this is kind of some deeper stuff, right? Like this is like self-work and
dude, yeah. See, like this is good stuff. I'm gonna hit you with the thing on the top of my list, and you're gonna be like, "What an idiot!" This is the only one. This is the only one of these things we're ever gonna record.
There'll be times when I got nothing, I'm sure. But dude, this has been awesome. This has been a for real like jam of mine because I mean, dude, ChatGPT, like what a crazy, like I don't have to tell you or anybody else by now, but it's just crazy the amount of things like with a keystroke that you can just put in, and it's like.
Yeah. And
it just is the best like riffing partner. Like if you have an idea and you're like, what about this? And it's like, oh yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that, but like for any kind of like content creation or any like, tailored answers where you're like compare and contrast this. And it's like more than a Wikipedia page can lift.
Yeah.
Like it's so great. So anyway, this ChatGPT, cool. I put in this prompt. I mean, I worked on it for like, there was probably a day or so where I was smoothing this down, but I basically put in this idea. And it spit out this curriculum that combines like, all this kind of like good introspective stuff. Like there's these journaling prompts and there's affirmations that I say every day. There's like 11 different books that it called out for me to like, it like figured out how much on the audio I would have to listen to like it figured out how many minutes each one of these books was, and then to listen to all these books divided equally among the 90 days, like how many minutes I would have to listen to. I mean, it was marvelous, right? Like, so I'm doing all this stuff. There's even like movie recommendations at night when I'm tired and it's like bedtime and stuff. Like after this, there's all these movies that have to do with the topics of escaping the need for external validation and finding a life that's worth going all in for. So I've
That's
watched like
awesome.
Dead Poet Society, freaking Fight Club, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, like all these,
Ugh.
and these are like major motion pictures, and they're just good for entertainment's sake also. But they
Yes.
all kind of have these ideas like Count of Monte Cristo, Gladiator, like these kind of out of the ashes, and just like being able to be stoic to yourself and also find passion and chase it, So I'm pretty amped on it, man. Like I have this book, this little journal that I daily I'm pulling it out, and there's like prompts and stuff that I'm just kind of freestyling, and I write for as long as I want. I mean,
Nice, dude.
the other thing that I'm kind of trying to do is not, I got a lot of perfectionism. And so I'm trying to not make myself like do it all like perfect, like if I miss a couple days because I'm in San Antonio, or if I hit a journal prompt where I'm like, I don't really want to write that. I got nothing on that. Then I'm
Yeah.
not. But in short, dude, I'm on day 60, I think 60 right now. I got like 30 days left. There was also kind of concurrently happening alongside of this, and I'm interested to get your take. But my divorce was final in June.
Okay.
Yeah, this last June. We're in December now, so it's been about 6 months. And in maybe July or so, there was like sort of some dating things that like landed in my lap, like for the first time, in X amount of years, like a long time. And then I created a dating profile on an app, and I was kind of starting to message girls, and I met up with a woman from the apps. We grabbed lunch one day, and she invited me out to like another like thing, like a football game later on. And there was like a few kind of incidental meetups and some like dipping the toe in the water, right, of dating. And
Sure.
I could feel that that validation little thing inside me that's like, oh man, these girls are saying I'm handsome, and this is like I'm getting attention, like there was some energy for sure around that.
Sure.
And so part of what I'm doing right now is I'm actually putting that on pause and trying to just sort of like not have something like just dampen the signal a little bit, because that can show up pretty loud for me.
Oh, sure.
And also as a time function too, like there's so many things in the day, like you just every day you go to bed with a full to-do list, and like kids that you didn't get to like do as much stuff with and whatever. So I figured like maybe carve out a few extra minutes every day by just shutting that off during the 90 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I deleted the app that I was on. I kind of like all the little like 3 or 4 conversations that I was in with these different girls, like sort of resolved themselves and were put on pause basically. And no dating and all this other kind of stuff I'm trying to do with the curriculum, and just have some fun with it and sort of see where we go.
That's sweet, dude. I love that.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT wrote it, man.
Dude, I know. You know what's funny is, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, it's so cool to hear. So, like, I know that people use ChatGPT like in beneficial ways, but like, it's also like, and not that this isn't self-serving makes it sound mean. I don't mean it that way, but like you are using this as kind of a springboard to be the version of you that like you're after, right? So
exactly.
But it sounds so much more productive, like doing it this way, like the 90-day thing. Brilliant. I feel like everybody I talk to about ChatGPT, they use it for some kind of quick fix.
Yeah.
This is the first thing I've ever heard where you're like, yeah, I had ChatGPT help me out with the plan, but like it's a long plan.
Yeah.
And you're like, so bravo, man. That's genius, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been kind of interesting, and it's funny too. Like just to jam on ChatGPT for a second, because look, dude, like it's fun. I love it. I don't have like a bumper sticker on my car. I'm not like the biggest fanboy ever, but I use it on the reg, like I daily. There's 3 or 4 different things that I'm kind of in there just checking out, and it speeds up things a lot. And there's ways I can use it on my workflow for business and also personally that make life better. And so it's funny, as I've shared this with a few different people, I appreciate your response. I've shared this with a few people, and they're like, I don't think an AI program is going to help you like be able to like have some meaningful change in your life. And I was like, dude, it's like, is ink and paper going to help you have meaningful change? It's not the ink and the
right.
paper. It's like, that's just the medium, right? ChatGPT is just
right.
Like, does the internet do ones and zeros actually make your life better?
Yeah. It's just,
so There's been two
It's
different people that have come back to me with that, and I'm like, okay, I don't think you fully get it, but like, you don't have to celebrate with me. I'm just
yeah.
excited, and so I've tried to share this with people,
I
because
like I can appreciate the skepticism to a degree. Like but to what you the point you just made, it's not like it's not like ChatGPT's I say they wrote the curriculum. It's like they sourced it.
exactly.
But like
Yeah.
it's not ChatGPT that's writing the philosophy.
No,
It's just pointing you down a road.
it's the
Um
packager.
yes,
The
like
packager.
it's and I mean, I don't know. Like tech now is wild in that way. Like, I mean, I think about the type of research that I had to do as a kid. Go to the actual library, find books, and like do that whole like.
Encyclopedias, like pulling them off
Yeah,
the shelf. I don't know if you have memories of that. I got a couple
like
years on you, I'm pretty sure, but like, dude, N to N, like,
yeah, or MI to MO.
yeah, you're like, oh, Michigan, I think it's in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, man. It's the packager. So
Yes.
yeah, like, and I tried to make that distinction too. I was like, one of these conversations was online that I was having in a forum, and one was over text. And I was like, yeah, it's not, this is just like, it's pulling in all these recommendations. Like ChatGPT didn't create The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. That was a movie that already existed. It just
Yeah.
served that up as a recommendation for me to maybe like help me round out my feel that I'm going after, to try to like build some energy around me.
Right. Right.
It's recommending like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius that I read that. Did ChatGPT write that book? No. It's telling me, dude, believe me, I've looked at the Broicism shirt a couple times recently. But I'm actually on Seneca right now. I'm doing Letters from a Stoic. So there's 11 different
Nice.
books that ChatGPT put in this curriculum. And so far there's been, it's like, I'm on like my fifth one right now. But yeah, I read, let's see, I'm not gonna be able to remember them all, but I read Gifts of Imperfection, Brene Brown. I read No More Mr. Nice Guy. That book's awesome.
I haven't I haven't done that one.
It's good.
I've been
You're a pretty nice guy.
I've been
Like,
curious.
huh?
I've been curious about it. I've never delved in, but
Have
it
you heard
is
of it?
yeah, it's an intriguing
Hardcore.
premise. Yeah.
Dude, it's hardcore. I will just tell you this as a side jam, because you brought it up, but I never have I felt so like wounded and like kind of like embarrassed because of how I was just raising my hand to every single thing that it's talking about in the book, like simultaneously like sheepish, and also like felt so at home, where I was like, I can't hate it because I know I'm home. Like when I read
Yeah.
this thing, I'm so bummed that I'm home, but I am home right
Yeah.
now.
Like quit.
But
Quit free.
it's all about just like giving to get, kind of, and the
Yeah.
ways that you do that in your marriage, the ways that you do that with like your parents and your friends, and how you kind of try to like you don't think you can just get, so instead you give to get,
Mm-hmm.
and then it ends up kind of coming out sideways eventually, somehow, some way, and it's like worse
It's
than if you
not
would have just,
it's not sustainable long term in a healthy way.
yeah.
Sure. Okay.
But
Well,
there's a
yeah.
lot. I mean, there's a ton about sex in there, which is pretty interesting, and that's kind of, there's some shock and awe value that I think helps carry the message further than it might, but it's
Sure.
very true. There's a lot of stuff about I don't know. There's like church things in there that I found kind of interesting, like with where I am right now, which is not any, but I'm on like a little micro faith thing, a little pilgrimage. There's some things about that in there. It's interesting. It's pretty like gloves off. And it all fit, like it wasn't a stretch for me to be like, well, maybe this is, I heard it all and I was just like, oh geez, like this is exactly the kind of stuff that I use to get through my life, and it's
Sure.
not how I want to be.
Right. Well,
Anyway,
and then we're back to the 90-day thing. So
yeah. Yeah.
works in progress. All right. Well, it's funny that you brought up Stoicism because that was one of my things. So we're loosely tied.
Yeah.
I freaking love Stoicism, dude.
Yeah.
And I feel like it gets such a bad rap because people misunderstand, like they take it to mean just the complete inability to react or respond to anything, and like that's not it at all.
Yeah.
You're thinking of little s Stoicism, I guess, maybe, but like as a philosophy, I think it's brilliant.
Yep.
And the thing that I was looking at the other day was a Marcus Aurelius one about I'm going to paraphrase it poorly. He's just so eloquent the way that he writes things, but it's essentially like we tend to love ourselves more than others love us, and yet we take their opinions more seriously than we do our own.
Yeah.
and
Wow.
and and it's just kind of like, you know, I hear that and I can, or I read it or whatever, and I can completely like grasp the value in it. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to like explain this type of thing to my kids about like, you know, you can't let other people's opinions of you be the thing that dictates how you exist. And um but yeah, I don't know, it's that for whatever reason that's just been like stuck in my head,
Mm.
and I think about it a lot, I don't know, there's a big part of me that sometimes feels like I'm almost like to a fault the other way, like, well, nobody's opinion matters at all, you know,
Too
and it,
stoic.
yes. um and I don't, I mean, I don't think I am truly, but like there is and I almost wonder if it's like a defense of sorts where I'm like, well, if I don't let anybody's opinion ever matter, then I don't have to worry about anything ever, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
And obviously I think there's a balance there, but I do think that he's correct. It's as much about like respecting, choosing to respect yourself, and then respect your view of yourself. Like I tend to be a pretty self-deprecating person. Like I'm like, oh, stupid idiot, you know, freaking like this.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. So I don't know. Like it's those things are always deeper than I can relay well. I'm like tripping over my words here as I try and talk about it, but it's just
No.
it's an interesting premise, and it's like it causes like self-reflection. Like,
Mhm.
A, how do I see myself? B, is that healthy? C, the way that I at least interpret the way that other people see me, does that matter? Do I rely on it too much, or do I like take it in too much? Do I let it bother me too much?
Yep. Yeah, that's really good, man. That's so actually my 90-day PhD thing, the very first prompt that I ever put into that chat GPT. By the way, the way that I use chat GPT now is like I kind of like over on the left-hand sidebar, like where it kind of catalogs all the different questions that you've asked and the different like prompts and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I I've kind of turned it into like a board of directors to where
Oh,
I rename certain threads. Like if it's a really good one, I'll rename it director dash therapy or director dash business,
nice.
director dash like relationships, dating. Like you know, and I'll have it like coach me up on how to like message girls or whatever. So
Sure.
I have these like certain threads that I've kind of saved as like repeating because I want to have that whole body of like learning in that thread.
Yeah.
When I go to ask something new. But the very first prompt I ever put into the 90-day PhD one was best stoic books for escaping validation or escaping the
Mm,
need for validation. That was my
nice.
it was the first little thing that I put in there. And then from that sprang like, you know, a day or so's worth of like refining and like, what about this? And oh my gosh, like, but yeah, just like that was where I was approaching it from, was trying to release, trying to just be more like the stoic philosophers and not be so dependent on. And the thing that was crazy, man, is like I'm kind of hijacking again here, sorry,
No,
but
no, you're
the
good.
thing that was crazy
This
for
is
me with
interesting.
dating is I think with stoicism and with this validation piece that at large in the world, the way that you often hear it communicated to you is like you don't want to be so gripped by the need for other people's validation that your world shatters when people say something hurtful, right? Or when they
Right.
snub you or they reject you or something like that.
Right.
But what was crazy for me was the reverse. I wasn't ready. It was like a little sneaky, like dark horse thing. Like in the same way that you don't want to go to pieces if somebody says you're terrible, you don't want to like overly put stock in somebody's like empty compliment either, right?
Sure.
Like if
Yes,
a girl
absolutely.
tells me I'm handsome, that's not a reason to date her. That's not a reason to like reverse engineer this relationship and be like, oh my gosh, like
Right.
yeah, it totally like go to work just building this thing, like, and that's kind of what was happening. Is I was like, no, no, no,
Interesting.
no.
Yeah.
That one snuck in because I was like more about ready to like shield myself from
Right.
negative validation, invalidation.
Yes.
But anyway, I like what you say. Yeah, and you know Seneca today in letter 10 that I was going through of letters, he talks about how like the goal isn't to just he said I mean I backed it up like two or three times on the audio. He's like the goal isn't to live a life devoid of any other people. Like a stoic would surely rather die than live a life with nobody else in it. But
Right.
it's just that he's going to be okay if
Yes.
they come and go, or if it's different people all the time, or they happen to like not always think the same thing about everything. Like
Right.
in those in between times, like you're enough on your own.
Sure. Um, That's yeah, that's I don't know. I was that makes the whole thing about how people come and go, right? Like
Yeah.
I I I get on my socials now and it's a lot of like hand wringing about who I'm cutting out of my life because of their politics and who I'm whatever. And I, like this thing last week with this that the CEO that got gunned down in the street or whatever by that dude, the healthcare guy, right? The
I
insurance.
haven't even heard of this.
You haven't?
This is gonna be the moment where everybody finds out that I don't watch any news.
Well,
Dude,
I don't watch.
I watch zero news.
I don't either. I don't either. But I have one like kind of newsy show on YouTube that I watch sometimes. But I don't really watch. But like on stuff pops up on the socials, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll look into that.
Yeah. So somebody just got smoked in the street. Like
the CEO of, is it United Healthcare? Like one of the major insurers got like killed, like he assassinated essentially. Like a dude 3D printed a gun and used it to kill this guy because he's got a problem with the way that like insurance in the country runs, which so I agree that there's a lot of problems there, but the weird part for me is the responses are like ding dong, the witch is dead kind of stuff in a lot of cases, which is like, it makes me laugh, but it's also like, we as a country, like we might have a bloodlust problem.
Yeah. Just
like
dancing on graves.
Yeah, dude.
Like, it's not my guy. I don't care.
Yeah. And like, I get having a fundamental issue with somebody. Yeah. Like you're going to cheer that the fact that he got murdered. Like that's freaking weird, dude. But like, it's been funny because it's been going on social, like since the election, right? Like, oh, if you voted XYZ, then, get out of my life kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now, so the one I read today was like, if you're weeping over some dead rich guy, like what's your, and I'm like, I don't care about the fact that he's rich or the fact that he's an idiot. Like I care about the fact that we shouldn't be applauding murder, dude, but
yeah.
So
the same thing came out when, with the Trump assassination attempt. I guess there was multiple, but the one like the first one where he got hit in the ear and stuff. There was so many like messed up, dark and depraved things flying around the internet for like a week after that. Like they just an inch more and like we wouldn't have had blah, blah, blah.
I know. Like dude, look, I get that he's
put
not
an LOL
guy
on there and then it's okay.
But, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Laughing emoji. It's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
He ain't my guy either. I get it. But like, I'm not wishing his demise. It's so weird. Like, it's just weird to me. But tangentially, because you came from somewhere productive and I turned it into a social media whiner session. But it's funny to see. But it's true. Like, you sort of, you kind of choose how you're okay with bringing people in and then letting them go. And sometimes I feel like the letting go is like too trivial. I don't know. I guess it depends on what their connection was to you to begin with. But like, if you're not having Christmas with your family anymore because they have I don't know. It's just like,
yeah.
Again, it's probably defense. It's probably, and in some cases it's probably needed and it's probably valid. But I think a lot of times it's like, it's just your pride getting in the way of being able to maintain something, and it makes me sad. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. It's, yeah, there's, we're not saying anything that is new to either of us or anybody else, but, yeah, there's so many like kind of passive, like, from a distance, like nukes that you can drop with the internet and draw all these like lines and stuff that probably just didn't happen that much 25 to 30 years ago. Like before,
right.
You could just like email somebody or just cut somebody and be like, I'm out.
Right.
If you voted for this person, like unfollow me. Or yeah, I don't know. There's a lot. It's just everybody's just like weaker nowadays.
I've always felt like, oh, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Finish up.
Just, you could, there's so much like permission given to just cut people out of your life. Like you could say it's self-care. You could say it's like, I don't know. There's like a grab bag of reasons or excuses that you could just go away from discomfort.
Right.
And like you have full license to do it. And like, how dare anybody else like ever challenge you or whatever. And so this is the first time that somebody thinks something different. The one that really gets me is like, it's not enough just to love everybody. Like when people want me to hate the same people that they hate, or else they're like mad at me. like, wait, you don't, you're not mad at like Trump, or you're not mad at this person, or you haven't like canceled this person because of what they did. I'm like, not really. Then
Yeah.
it's like, then you're out of my life. Like you
Right.
gotta like hate all the same people I hate. Like, where's your pitchfork? I'm like, dude, just
Yeah.
just calm down.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Coming up to the Colorado mountains, dude. We'll chill you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that, yeah. Yeah. I don't know, dude. Hate's a hell of a drug, you know?
Yeah.
uh,
Dude, I'm starting a new job.
oh, really?
I'm getting a W-2 on the payroll, 9 to 5 job.
Was the last one you had
for the first time since 2017, dude? Yeah, since you and I were together,
dude. This is like the end of an era. I remember when you left, and I was so okay. Again, for the 3 people that listen to this, we Dan and I met working at a publisher, a online publisher.
Yep.
8-9 years ago, or I don't know. Yeah, 2017, I guess. So yeah. Nearly 8 years ago. Yep. And I don't guess about a year after I got there, you flew the coop for greener independent pastures.
Yeah,
and you've been at the sort of contractor thing for a long time now, dude. So what is prompting the return to the 9 to 5? Because I'm always like, because I've been in a 9 to 5 since then, with the exception of my little stint during COVID where they cut me loose unceremoniously and actually I laugh about it now, but it ended up being a pretty good thing for my family and our life. We ended up leaving Utah as a result, and have we've kind of carved a new path, and it's been pretty good, and I have no complaints. But the way that all went down was very weird. Even for that company, which we can delve into another time maybe. But
that was Perch that ended up letting you go, or Future,
yeah,
after the acquisition.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was like so our another mutual friend that we have, Jesse, from our time there. Hope he doesn't mind me name dropping him, but like he had become like the big boss of the video department in the US side of the company.
Can you call it the video machine?
Yeah, we can.
Let's call it that.
Yeah, the video machine. Yeah, that's it. I mean, dude, Future's a juggernaut. I don't know if you've looked into them since or fall. Oh my gosh, they buy everybody.
Like in terms of revenue, or what? Like
just in terms of their like, at least when I was there, they were just like, you remember there's this game online that my kids love to play where you're like a little dot, but then you sort of envelop the other dots and you get bigger and you just keep eating. Like that's Future.
Okay.
So Perch when I got there was like 400 employees or something like that. It was mostly stateside. Like we had the hub in New York, the hub out in northern Utah, a couple others. Future bought Perch, and all of a sudden I was one of like 1,500 or something at Future.
Jeez.
And they're
out of the UK, right? Like
yeah, they're out of the UK, and they just kept buying brands. Like, and they would just buy these. Like Perch was this little umbrella company that had a bunch of little brands that like published stuff and sold things and whatever. And I believe Perch had like 14 or something like that brands, maybe. And when Future bought Perch, the Perch brands brought Future's total brand count up to like 120 or something like that. And then when we were there, they bought, I think, 2 more companies that had another 12, 15. So they were just buying brands and either like turning them into these little like automated content farms, cutting a bunch of like, it was a weird system, but
dude, they probably love ChatGPT.
Oh, dude.
The next day they probably showed up with the axe, dude.
But they're not doing it your way, dude. They're doing it like the quickest fix possible.
Just lopping fools off. Like, you're done. This department's gone. You're gone. Yeah.
But Jesse and I kind of start like, Jesse and his boss, and then me and a couple others, we kind of made the Utah video thing. And then he moved to New York and took over the office over there. And like, there were people there that like needed to get axed anyway, but they couldn't because they were in the middle of this big unionizing battle. And that was a whole song and dance going on.
Wow.
And like that stuff makes it really hard to fire people. Like I think there are unions out there that actually serve the purpose that they are supposed to. And then there are some that just protect bottom feeders.
Yeah. I'm just going to get here and park it forever.
Yeah. The video machine had some of those for sure. And, but I was the one that got axed because I was not in the New York office, and like, they never saw me except for at events. So they're like, oh, well, we could probably let him go really easy. And Jesse's like, no, we need them. And they're like, no, we don't. So anyway, that was, dude, I'm a tangent machine tonight.
But turned out to be a blessing, though. You're saying,
yeah. So I mean, but like they knee jerk too. That was the other thing. Like, oh, the stockholders are going to wig out. Like, so they axed a lot of people like second week of COVID kind of thing. And yeah, so then I ended up getting this job out here once people started hiring again, and it's been really good. We've been out here in northern Indiana for like 4 years now, and
yeah,
life's okay. But yeah, it's just
yeah,
funny the way things happen.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, so funny. Yeah, so you're
you and I talk offline like frequently. I mean, not frequently, but a few times a year. There's like some sort of conversation. Like there's some variation where you're like, dude, I gotta get out.
Yeah,
just gotta like find a way. And I don't know that you've always like hated what you've been doing, but just that like desire to have a little more freedom, try things, scratch an itch, whatever. But
yep.
And now I'm kind of doing the opposite. So
it's 100% based on like it has very little to do with the company that I'm at. People are pretty good. Like it's a pretty stable environment, but it is very much like I'm just like, well, I'm trying to think of that quote where he's like, I'm a winged bird, let me fly, or what. I don't know. I can't think of it. Like it's just like, you know,
dude, a peacock.
Yes, I'm a peacock. I'm a peacock.
Let me fly.
Yeah.
Kicks over the water cooler.
That's what it is. Yep. Other guys. I couldn't think. I was like, I knew it was Will Ferrell.
Dude, how is that movie like so underrated?
Oh my gosh, it's seriously
one of the most
dude.
underrated.
It's so funny.
Every line is a quote. Like,
yeah, I did my first desk pop.
The Thing, right, guys? Right?
Yeah.
I love in the very beginning when that like chase scene of like The Rock and
oh my gosh,
Samuel L. Jackson just like flying through the bus in their car.
Yeah.
And Jansen, are the rumors about you and Kim Kardashian true? No comment. But yes.
And then I love the freaking drum intro from Foo Fighters. My Hero starts playing, and that whole like what does he say before they jump off? Like
he says, "Aim for the bushes," and there's no bushes like anywhere. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah,
aim for the bushes.
Oh,
it's so amazing. And then I kind of thought for like the first time I watched that, I thought that they were gonna make it somehow, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh geez, and then they just splat, and I loved the movie instantly.
Oh my gosh, dude! That part, like those two guys at the beginning, and then all the times that Michael Keaton like inadvertently quotes TLC.
Guys, don't go chasing waterfalls. Okay?
Yeah, those freaking killed me, dude. I was dying. Oh my gosh, so funny.
Yeah.
Criminally underrated. Seriously.
Criminally. Dirty Mike and the Boys, like the soup kitchen and the red Prius, like that was a bit for like 15 minutes. They kept coming back to it. It was hilarious. But that's a staple among me and my brothers and a couple different friends. It's always like my brothers and I painted a house one time with that, just like playing, like we weren't even really paying attention. It was in the middle of the room and we were all like painting different walls and cutting in and taping and whatever. And that we just like watched the movie that way one time.
Yeah, that would absolutely work as like just like a comfort watch, you know?
Yeah.
Like you just can't find something else, dude. Like that'll take you there.
The Urshan guy, he's like, gentlemen, you have a choice. Mamma Mia or Jersey Boys. How good was Jersey Boys? It wasn't good. It was great. Can I have another coconut or another cucumber water? Anyway, dude, so you asked, short of just me quoting this for the rest of our time, you asked kind of what went into it for the job thing. And I think like, so this guy that I'm going to go work for, he's actually a client of mine. He's been a client for like 3.5 years.
Okay.
So he's just wanted to bring me in house, and he's
nice.
He's made passing references and kind of stabs at it over the time we've worked together. It probably started taking a more serious shape like a month ago. And he was like emailing me numbers and saying, hey dude, like, this is what I think. And so that was all taking place prior to Thanksgiving. I was intrigued, you know, cause it's money wise, it's compelling enough to like be interesting.
Sure.
He started off. So I have a small SEO agency. We help people show up higher in Google to get more traffic, specifically real estate agents most recently. And so this guy and a couple other clients, not a lot, but a few clients that we help rank for things that are important in their area. So when somebody searches realtor in Tulsa or something like that, like hopefully our client's website is the one that's going to show up high and be clicked. So this guy, he hired me and the team back in May of 21. And he was getting like maybe 500 visits a month or something like that. We cranked up his traffic to like 16,000 visits, over the next like 6 months or so. And then it's always kind of remained pretty high. So he was impressed with that. He came back to me and was like, well, I have all this traffic now. I mean, he's kind of digitally like, he's just got so much other stuff going. And there was a lot of like things that he hadn't tried yet really. So when he hired us, we got the traffic coming in, but then he was like, dude, I have all this traffic and it's not really converting into leads. And so I tried to find him this good lead form that he could embed on his site. And I built in all this conditional logic and like took some time on it. That was definitely outside of the lane for like what an SEO agency would do. It was
Sure.
like totally different, right? Like totally like another layer, but I think he really appreciated it and it's helped a lot. I mean, now he has traffic and leads, but now he's coming to me and saying like, yeah, we just don't have great like we could use a little bit of help on the sales side. We don't have great follow-up processes and all these different things like for once somebody's actually becomes a lead, And so yeah, I'm gonna help with some of that. There's a guy that does sales full-time already for him. There's another guy I think that's kind of part-time sales, part-time support, service. Like account management, I guess, kind of after the sale. But anyway, this would be sales and sort of sales ops. So helping
Sure.
to get like email drip campaigns in place and text message follow-ups and using AI. I mean, there's a tool that I found for him that can because what he does is a B2B kind of a B2B sale. Like he
Sure.
does real estate, but he acts as a liaison between HR managers and talent that needs to be relocated. Um, and so when an HR manager goes to move their senior VP of what operations or whatever, if they need them to move from Sacramento to Kansas City or something like that, a lot of times what they'll do is cut them a check and say, hey, here's 25 grand, like best of luck with the home sale, and if you need to like fly out to Kansas City to look at housing a couple times, or you need to like hire movers or whatever. And so it's nice of them to kind of give that money, but then the employee or the executive is left kind of making all the arrangements and stuff. So my client that's now going to be my boss is a service layer between those two. And so instead of giving the employee the check, they give him the check. And then he does this kind of like total white glove service where he's like arranging the movers, making sure everything's there, like selling the house, helping him buy a new house. Like even if the house doesn't sell, his company will buy the house, guaranteed buyout, it's called, so that
Wow.
they can like leave and be paid and like move on with life. And then he'll assume that responsibility on the back end to sell it and whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, like the role for me will be kind of interesting and kind of fun because I think there's a lot of like processes and little like tools and technology and stuff that he or the other people just kind of haven't had the time or maybe the know-how to implement yet. And
Right.
so it seems like a way that like an opportunity where it could be the first time that some of these things have been tried. So it's
That's
intriguing.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and
yeah, dude.
I
That's
think
that's interesting.
yeah, I think like for me, man, it's crazy. Like having I have three kind of hustles right now that I've kind of simultaneously been squeezing money out of, and they're all making money. But it's just such a like duct tape empire. Like it's it's like different amounts every month, and I'm trying to like borrow from Peter sometimes to pay off Paul, and like hedge my bets and like figure out my own taxes and my own like health insurance and different things like that. And it's
Right.
just it feels really restful to me to just hook up to somebody who's gonna like treat me pretty fairly, pay me pretty well,
Yeah.
and not have to really like chase all the different rabbits and like what I mean? Like it just
There
sounds
is
restful.
there is absolutely something to like that stability, like that component of a gig in somebody else's thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's probably one of like the biggest hindrances to um hindrance is not the right word, but it's one of the biggest sort of things that kind of give me pause when I start thinking about like how badly do I want to pursue, starting my own thing or whatever. Like if it's not able to get where it needs to be quickly to the point where like I'm not going to have to worry about like the insurance thing, for instance, or whatever. I mean, because kids do weird stuff. They hurt themselves.
Yeah.
It's not me I'm worried about, but
Yeah.
but yeah, there is, and at least with what I do with the video stuff, like I walk out of that building and I don't worry about it
Yeah.
until the next
Yeah.
day when I'm back. Like it's just like, and
Great like kids and like TV
yep,
and like house chores.
yeah, yeah, and I wrestle with my company, or I have in the past on occasion about it. Like we have this meeting in the morning and I'm late to like at least a couple of times a week,
Yeah.
and It's like it's always a thing in my little like reports. Like, well, we'd love it if you were on time to that thing. I'm like, if my kids aren't on the bus yet, I'm not leaving. Like, it just I'm a dad first. If you want me here, that's got to be okay, you know.
Yeah.
And
the
or
videos
like
are still gonna get done.
yeah,
Believe
like
me.
I'm and like that's where I fall on it. So it's very easy for me to take my football and go home kind of a thing. But I mean, it's not that. But it's like, am I missing assignments? No. So just it's gonna be okay, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, we're almost to our hour, but
Yeah, dude.
what's that?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say if we need to go, or I'd
No,
love
no,
to hear like what else you got going on. If you got some
I
other stuff like.
I'm good. I was so the stoicism thing. The reason it came up, and this was the lighter part of what I was going to say. Uh, Went and saw the Gladiator sequel. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay.
Must watch TV.
Do you want? I
Oh,
mean,
shoot.
I don't want to spoil stuff,
Okay.
but
Dude, Ridley Scott said it was the best movie that he's like ever done, or something like that.
that is quite a statement, dude. Like
Yeah.
it is. I enjoyed it,
Okay.
but not like anyway. Yeah, it ain't the first one. I'll just say that. But it is fun and it's good, but it's not like it does not hold the same type of like that first movie, dude, is top 20 for me, probably.
Oh, it's so amazing.
It's so good and it's so like and like you want to talk about like stoicism as a philosophy embodied in a character and in a story, dude. Like, I mean, it's so good.
Yeah.
And this one just feels like to me it's definitely like it just has like blockbuster energy, but it doesn't pack the same type of depth, I guess, is how I'd put it. So
Yeah.
maybe from some perspective, in terms of just like, because it's an epic, right? Like it's got all they spent a crap ton of money on it, so maybe he's high on that as a thing. Like I know those like big time directors really like it's $300 million. That's a pretty impressive budget. Like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Did it make you feel in the same way as the other one? I not for me, but
Yeah.
but it made me laugh because like, I mean, Denzel's in it. He's great. The acting's, a couple of the characters are really over the top, but it's kind of like in a fun way. But Denzel's just chewing the scenery and he's kind of doing his thing and it's very good. But like he mentions reading Marcus Aurelius specifically, which I thought was really like, given that he was a character in the first one, like just was like, I can't decide if I love that completely or if it was just way too on the nose, but it was like, okay, good for you. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the premise, but it's essentially like 30 years or something after the other one.
Okay.
So,
I don't know the premise, but I was guessing in my head. I watched the preview and I was guessing that it was gonna be maybe more about like the son of the girl the first time.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's exactly it. So,
Okay.
so he's
Don't tell me anything, but
Yeah,
that was like
but
watching that. I'm like, oh, that's got to be like her kid, like grown up now, and
so that's the kind of and how he gets there and whatever. But you got to see it and then we'll have to talk about it because it's just it's it's good, but there are some moments where you're just sort of like, oh, okay, interesting.
well, the preview, like the word that came to mind for me was the preview looked pretty gratuitous. It looked like it was like some of the same things as before, but like 10 times as much. Like
Yeah,
I don't know if that actually is a fair billing or not, but that's kind of what I'm like. Oh, they really like just put it on like 2024 steroids, kind of.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like everything is ratcheted up a little bit, and like the ease. But you know what the thing is, dude? Like right around the time that movie, the first one came out, you also had Harry Potter, the Matrix like sequels, and what I'm referencing in those for those movies specifically is like really bad CGI.
Okay.
Like if you go back and watch the first Harry Potter movie, the Quidditch match, unwatchable. Like it looks so bad. I mean, like
that was the greatest quote that you've ever said. The Quidditch match, unwatchable.
Unwatchable. Okay. No, dude, but like it's like it really is like in fairness, I've never been a huge fan of the first Harry Potter movie anyway. I think they kind of get better as they go. But I even when it came out, I was like, oh, that movie kind of sucked. But I'm not huge on that one to begin with, but the Quidditch match is real rough. Like if you go watch it now, it's like, oh man, that looks like the Matrix sequels have really weird CGI moments where you're like, it kind of takes you out of it.
Was this about 2000, 2001?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
And
not too long after. This was about the same time as like those like CGI Star Wars movies that came out. Like the
yes,
first three, and you're like,
yes,
dude, so much CGI.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't that good is the thing.
Yeah.
But like the first Gladiator, a lot of practical effects. So like, and so I really adore that. And the ease with which the CGI is produced now as opposed to then made it so that rather than doing a lot of practical stuff, there is a lot of practical stuff, but there's also a lot more reliance on CGI in this one. And it's just kind of like, dude, the practical like grounded that thing so heavily. And so yeah, 2024 like steroid version is a great way of putting it. It's just a little lighter on compelling story and just a lot more of everything else. Like so, and that makes it fun, but it also makes it like. I mean, I don't know what I was hoping for as a thing because like when they first announced they were doing a sequel, I was like, well, that's stupid. And then I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh, maybe. And
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'll be curious to see what your review is. But yeah, I like the dude that plays the main guy. Great, Denzel, great. Like, there's a lot of great stuff in it, but it's just it's like I see what you were trying to do. I had high hopes, and it's not bad, but it's just I mean, it's such a high bar from the first one.
I know. It's yeah, dude. It's like, and this is a different but related gripe. Is like all the redos, right, that we've seen in our lifetime, like of these iconic movies where they're like, oh, we'll redo it, like we'll take like The Great Escape from the 60s, which I don't think no one's redone that one, but they take something that's like this iconic piece of cinema and try to like do a here and now spin on it. You're like, dude, no, that you should have just like the Willy Wonka that they tried to do with Johnny Depp, like you can't touch the Willy Wonka, like you can't. Red Dawn, like when they tried to remake Red Dawn, and you're like, yeah, you put like the Liam Neeson or not Liam Neeson, Liam Hendricks or Chris Hendricks. They put like one of those like dudes in it, but you're like, dude, you can't touch like Charlie Sheen and Patrick Swayze and just like the raw Russian 80s feel. Like you got to
that Red Dawn remake is got to be one of the worst things I've ever seen, dude. Like, and there's so many people in it though. Like,
yeah, I know,
huge bankable names. And it's like, no, it's just kind of, it's lifeless. Like it just is soulless. That's a lot of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been a couple where I'm like, oh, that was a pleasant surprise. But more often than not, when it's like a straight up just remake or rip off or whatever, like, it's like, oh, that's just kind of like.
Yeah. Well, that's why when I saw the Gladiator, I don't know. The first person that told me about it made it sound like they were redoing it. And I was like, what? No way. It's not old enough. And it's too like, it's too like part of like the dogma of, people that are our age, like everybody, that's just a touchstone, that's cemented in our heads that should not. So then the next time that I heard about it, I was like, oh, it's not the same. It's a totally different story. Kind of like I mentioned the Willy Wonka one a minute ago, but they made that new Wonka, like the different story back, I guess, a year ago or something. And that was cool. It was a fun watch.
That was, I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would actually on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. But the straight up redo is that's hard, man. Like you can't, it's a hard, it's a hard one to pull off.
Well, I think I like, I don't know, maybe it depends on whose hands it's into. Like, I don't like the Coen brothers True Grit. You ever watch that?
Mm-mm. But I saw the old school one from way back.
Yeah, with John Wayne. Like it's a classic. That Coen brothers version is pretty strong. Like it feels more realistic. So like there's a dimension added to it that the other one. I mean, and part of it's just that like I people are gonna crucify me. Anybody that watches this, like I freaking love those old John Wayne movies.
Yeah.
But Jeff Bridges is just a better actor.
Yeah.
Straight up, like it is what it is. And so like there's a grittiness, derp. But like there's like a grounded element to the new one. And part of it just has to do with the way that filmmaking has evolved in 40 years between the two, right? Like,
yeah. But when you say John Wayne, immediately I'm thinking of those like old like revolver sound effects where it sounded like a cap gun, like like a little puff of smoke.
Right. And like and
every John Wayne movie I've ever seen is like that in my head. It's like perfectly ironed, like
anchored, like neck off to the side, of course, because very chic. Like Jeff Bridges looks so disheveled in the freaking movie. Like he looks like this drunken clown because he is like he's meant to be this kind of like unsavory sort of marshal, right?
Yeah.
But it's also just attention to detail. Like the old True Grit movie, it was one of my favorite movies growing up, and I still love it. Like I'll still happily watch it. But like it's supposed to take place in Oklahoma, right? Like the plains of Oklahoma. The big gunfight he has at the end with like the gang of robbers, like there's aspen trees up. Like it's clearly shot in Colorado.
Yeah. Like I know that.
Yeah, like dude, you know, so that stuff like that. It's not going to matter to everybody, but if you notice that stuff, you can't unnotice it, you know, and so just, but there's also something to be said about like going back to the Red Dawn example. Like it's a moment in time that like I think in the new one, they tried to make it like North Korea or something. Like, it's like, come on. Like,
nobody has ever been as worried about North Korea as the West was worried about Russia back in the 80s.
Yeah.
That was like Russia and China were like, that was like scary stuff. And everybody talked about it and it was like on the news and
sleeper agents and the whole, like, the dude. Yeah. It just doesn't have the same soul. It ain't got the same soul. Yeah. Make me quote Bob Seger here.
Dude, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like, so once in a blue moon you get a True Grit, but most of the time you get a Red Dawn. And
dude, you're making me with True Grit. You're making me think of this other like kind of obscure 80s. Well, no, not 80s. It would have been like 60s or something, but a really old like Western movie. Did you ever see that they like the original version of Magnificent Seven?
Yeah,
that was a redo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It was like a cheesy old 60s Western, but I mean, I grew up like my parents loved that one. I liked it as a kid. Yeah. And then that was a redo that they did 3 or 4 years ago. 10, maybe it's like 10. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been some. But like that's another redo where I was like, oh, I actually enjoyed it. Like it didn't feel completely like, oh, that just sucked.
I wasn't so married to the old one for me that I didn't have like a lot of like, you know, emotional like currency or whatever tied up in that old one. And so it wasn't like as much of a sacred cow. Like I'm like, oh yeah, you want to redo that one? Like cool.
Well, that was True Grit for me. Like I had very like I love this movie. I love the story. So my expectations are high, but I'm also like an unabashed like Coen Brothers fan.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's them. I'll give this a shot, and it's freaking great.
Delivered.
Yeah, but I did enjoy that Magnificent Seven one. That Peter Skarsgård is that villain. He was so creepy.
Yeah.
It was really good. That was a fun one.
That's a cool story. I think it's just like a cool story, and anyway, it didn't like shatter either side of the Richter scale for me,
right.
but it was solid enough.
Yeah. Okay. Last movie thing I'll bring up.
Yeah.
I got to know your opinion.
Oh, on whether or not it's a Christmas movie?
Christmas movie, yay or nay?
Dude. Oh, I'm so worried right now. I so wish that you would not have asked me that. First of all, huh?
This book is like an illustrated color, like little kids book version of it that my wife gave me for Christmas a few years ago. It's so freaking funny to read. It's like it's written in the poem version of like Night Before Christmas, but it's just telling the story of Die Hard. Great stuff.
Dude, okay. There's no way except through it. So I gotta go through it. I've never seen Die Hard. Ever.
Hang up the call, dude. Just
I'm like,
you
I've never seen Die Hard.
You gotta fix it. You gotta fix it this year. This year's the year to fix it.
I actually was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, dude, maybe I should fire that up. Maybe that's tomorrow. Maybe it's tonight. Well, no, it's not gonna be tonight. Tonight I'm watching Forrest Gump as part of my 90-day PhD.
Oh, okay, nice.
I'm like halfway through it. I haven't watched it since the very first time I ever watched it, so it's like but I should probably watch Die Hard tomorrow because I was thinking about it and I was like, dude, this is one of the things that, you know, I probably shouldn't turn 44 and like still have not seen this.
I'm blown away by that, honestly. Like it's I don't know, dude. Like that, it's another one where like I have like a lot of like memories of my adolescence tied to it. Just purely based on so growing up, my dad, my mom died when I was 9. And so it was just me and my dad for a few years. And during that window of time where it was just the two of us, periodically movies like Die Hard or whatever would come on TV. And I would be like, please, I want to watch that. It's so like, he'd be like, it was a great movie, but you're not watching it, whatever. And eventually he came up with this policy where like, if I wanted to watch some gratuitous violence type movie like that, or like some like when early 90s, right? Jim Carrey was everybody's freaking hero. And if like he had Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask all in like a year and a half window or something like that. So like he became a freaking icon. Like anyway, so all my friends at school are talking about Dumb and Dumber. They're like, it's the funniest movie you'll ever see, but I'm like, I got to see that. And my dad's like, the phrase that was so often used in our house was potty humor, right? It's got too much potty humor. And he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. But so whenever one of those things came up, like he would look into it a little bit and be like, okay, you can watch that if you watch 5 classics of my choosing first. So like I had to like earn the right to watch Dumb and Dumber, or earn the right to watch something like Die Hard or something, and like edited for TV like it was back in the day, kind of a thing. And so I
Sound of Music, Oklahoma.
So
Singing in the Rain.
I watched a whole bunch of classic black and white, like Alfred Hitchcock murder mysteries, a whole bunch of musicals, a whole bunch of like, so I have this like weirdly eclectic film taste now as a result of this policy, because I like had to watch the classics to like earn my right to watch the stuff I actually wanted to. Yeah. But one of those was Die Hard. So and so I remember like I sat down, we watched Die Hard and I was like, that's the coolest movie I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And it just was like astounding. Like I did not know action movies could be like this. It's just so next level, dude. Dude, it's another one that's just like, it's a staple of its era. Like it feels like 1988. Like Bruce Willis has never been or will never be cooler. Yeah. Alan Rickman is coming into the scene as like one of the best villains of all time, which he repeated ad nauseum for like 10 years. He just had so many great villain roles. Yeah. Dude, yeah, watch it. And then we'll talk about whether or not you think it's a Christmas movie.
Okay. My prediction is that you think it is.
I will not answer that.
Fair.
So I will not taint your view on that decision.
Dude, next jam, I feel like my homework is Die Hard and also Gladiator 2. Is Gladiator 2 is for those about to die, or what's it called?
It's just called Gladiator 2.
Is for those about to die is that TV show that like the Amazon Prime show or the Netflix show that came out that's kind of feels the same kind of.
Yeah.
But you haven't watched that?
I never watched it. No, I forget what it's on. I remember seeing a trailer for it at one point, and I was thinking to myself like, oh, Gladiator plus Ben-Hur, but like with bad CGI, and so I wasn't super.
Dude, Ben-Hur, was that one of the 5 classics that you watched in order to get to Die Hard?
Yeah, I watched Ben-Hur as a kid for sure.
It's funny, like I make my kids watch all this stuff. Like they've seen Sound of Music, they've seen It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart, like black and white.
Yep.
Yeah, they watched Ben-Hur. We watched Ben-Hur together over the course of a couple different,
Yeah, it takes a little bit. Yep. That's a long one.
That was this year, but yeah, they've seen a bunch old classic Disney ones like $1 Million Duck. You ever heard of that? The duck that lays golden eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Disney Plus, like they have some goodies. Some of those old.
His family is on there.
Go Blackbeard's Ghost. You ever watch that on? It's an old Disney one. It's got Dean Jones. He's that same guy that was in like the Herbie movies and stuff. Okay. And he's moved to this like, I want to say it's some New England town or something where this pirate ghost like starts haunting him and like hilarity ensues. It's just ridiculous. It's so freaking funny.
I'm writing this down right now.
Blackbeard's Ghost. Like
Blackbeard's Ghost.
It's just silly. It's just silliness, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just funny. That's one of those ones where I watched it as a kid and I was like, there could never be something funnier than this. And there absolutely is, but it's still like, it's a sweet spot for me for sure. Yeah. But yeah, man, there's so many of those like awesome old pieces from Disney on that thing right now.
Yeah, man. I seriously, like my kids, they are classically trained. Like they have seen Goonies, they've seen all the Karate Kids, they've seen all the Indiana Jones, except for the ones that don't really count, which are crap. But
I still haven't seen the most recent one.
Huh?
I haven't seen the newest one still.
I haven't either. I saw the Crystal Skull one and I was like, oh,
bro. Yeah, that one was rough, man.
Gross. But yeah, they've seen all the Ghostbusters, they've seen all the Back to the Futures, Flight of the Navigator, Labyrinth, Goonies, all the stuff.
Yeah. Dude. Man, what was I was watching if you showed them All Dogs Go to Heaven?
I haven't.
Dude, like in the same vein as like Labyrinth, Goonies, like a lot of the like seemed like it was aimed at kids stuff in the 80s. Like there's just a creepiness that was like in that stuff that you just
Yeah.
don't find anymore. And I like
I kind of like the creepiness a little bit. I feel like
absolutely.
it's like German kind of like where they're like, have you ever heard about their like Christmas traditions where they like just
Yeah.
put the fear in kids? Like, dude, if you're
Yes,
bad,
dude. Well, like
the
I
guy's gonna come and like beat you and take your presents.
yes. But
Yeah.
it's like I mean, and I was allowed to watch all that stuff growing up, and it was like heavy stuff though.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember Land Before Time?
Yeah.
Oh my
Three
gosh.
horns. Three horns don't
Oh
play with oh,
yeah.
what was the quote? I
Uh
forget, but Sarah was the like triceratops.
yeah. And like Littlefoot's the long neck, right?
Yeah,
Um,
Ducky.
and his like the death scene with his family is just so
Tragic,
like it
dude.
just rip your freaking heart out, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was just like like okay, Don Bluth had like a tear of just 80s creep show movies that were incredible.
Yeah.
Secret of Nim. Did you ever see that with the
Um,
rats?
Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, but like it was
Yes.
a sequel or something.
No, it's just like Secret of Nim was the first movie.
Okay.
Um, oh my
See it.
gosh, dude, go watch that. Watch it with your kids. You guys will all be creeped out together. It's incredible. But that and then American Tail, the first one,
Yeah.
where he comes from Russia.
Yeah.
Uh,
Five
and yes, and then Land Before Time, and then All Dogs Go to Heaven. Like that
Dude, you just
is
added like four more to my homework.
that is a just like an avalanche of like the most 80s like peak 80s animation, peak
Yeah.
80s creepiness, peak 80s heaviness, but also like they're all super fun. Music's awesome, but like
Yeah.
just like
They're all Don
there's
Bluth.
yeah. Which my daughters were watching the old Pete's Dragon the other day. And the credits were running, and one of the animating supervisors was Don Bluth, and so it was he worked for Disney for several years before he broke off and kind of started doing his own thing. But him leaving Disney was the best thing that could have happened because he went on a tear for a while. He made a bunch of junk in the '90s, although Anastasia is another one that he did, which I freaking love. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But he had a bunch of like stupid ones too in that during that phase. But man, those '80s ones he made were just like the
Solid
pinnacle
gold
of
gems.
like just creepy gems, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. I love him so much.
Creepy gems. Oh, maybe that's the theme for our next podcast.
Creepy gems.
Yeah, dude, you're making me think with some of these other movies that we've thrown around. Like I threw out Willy Wonka like a minute ago, not 80s or animated or anything, but dude, that's another one. Like Wizard of Oz, kind of disturbing, right, for a child audience.
Right.
There's enough stuff in there where your kid's probably not going to sleep right for like a couple weeks, which
Yeah.
I like.
Yes.
But then
Yes.
yeah, Willy Wonka that I threw out, like that one. Watching that one as an adult, I'm like, wow, dude, there's some like just scary like heavy feeling, like the peddler with his like stuff on the cobbles,
Mhm.
and like even the grandparents like in bed, they're like nice, but like it's just like it's strange,
Yeah,
right?
but they're just laying there rotting, dude. Like,
dude, the other thing that's awesome about the grandparents that I never put together until like a couple of years ago, but I'm like, okay, they're like 70 or something like that, and the grandpa says that they've been in bed for like 20 years.
yeah.
They like all hopped into bed when they were like 50. Like what was going on then? Like what was that like?
Like, man, you
do
guys
some of that math and then try to wrap your head around it.
You guys must have been in a bad way, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, I like those like I like those movies that they're like a little disturbing.
Oh my gosh, dude. The 80s, like there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Any of the Jim Henson stuff that wasn't Muppets? Like, did you ever like Dark Crystal?
I don't think I've seen it, but I totally remember that.
I mean, it's kind of in the same vein as Labyrinth, where there's a lot of like practical monsters and these creepy little things and creatures and stuff, and you're just
puppeteering, like
yeah, and it feels like a fever dream, but you're like, what, dude? Yeah,
you're reminding me of like dude, like those 80s like bad 80s fantasy movies like Labyrinth or like Lady Hawk. Remember with Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yes.
The sound effects and the music and everything's just so cheesy.
Yeah.
And then there was what was that other one? It was like you said what'd you say, Dark Crystal?
Dark Crystal, yeah.
There was another one though that was like Oh, I can't remember it, but yeah, I don't know. You're kind of like I'm being segued a little bit over into some like fantasy stuff, but yeah, I wouldn't be able to like tell you Jim Henson's stuff, but
Well, just I mean,
I know that
any
feel
like
though.
yeah, that like I mean,
Was he Labyrinth with Bowie?
I can't remember. I can't remember if he was involved in that or not.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I mean, he was like the creature king. Uh, I mean, he's got his
that's kind of like all those weird kind of fantasy esque creatures. Like what about the Never Ending Story?
yes.
Remember that? And like the
Oh
rock
my
guy and like those weird
gosh.
snail things and the wolf and like the all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
kind of a little messed up and scary for a
Yeah.
kid. but
Yeah.
it came
But
together. Like as a kid, you don't really question it. You're like, oh, okay, I guess.
right.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny, dude, is like I mean, Never Ending Story, like absolutely iconic.
Yeah. Great movie.
The second
Both.
one came out. You just said both. It's one. It's the
Well,
first
no, I
movie.
mean, the second one was not. The first one was the one with like Artex and Atreyu, and like that was the
Yes.
one that was Falcor, the Luck Dragon. Like that was the one that I always watched, and the second one was super weird. But yeah.
The second one is the first movie I ever walked out of.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Myself, my friend that I went with, I must have been like 7 or something when it came out, but like myself, my friend, and his dad, and maybe his little brother was there too. And the 4 of us collectively were like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And we just bounced like halfway through it. I've never even finished it. So
It's your
I can't,
homework.
yeah. So now I got to go do that. I'll suffer through the second half of that.
No.
It's funny. It's like, I've actually, I don't know. I'm a little bit softer on the way I watch movies now, just because I know what it takes in a way that I didn't understand as a kid. So I think I'm pretty forgiving in a lot of ways. Just because it's like, I don't know. I mean, you try and make like, I mean, I made a short film with some guys I worked with 12 years ago now or something like that. And it was hard.
Yeah.
It's like 13 minutes long or something like that. And it took us the better part of a year to finish. We shot it in one weekend, but it took so long to like get it all put together. And it's like, and it doesn't show it either. Like, I mean, it wasn't a bad little film, but it was just like, I can't believe how long this took.
Were you guys doing this for like a competition or something? Was there like a festival that you were trying to like?
It wasn't specifically for a festival. We did end up getting it into one like a year or something after we completed it, which was a year after we shot it, kind of a thing. So like it was just I was a video editor at a company, and I worked in a room full of video editors. So we were always talking about movies, and we were always talking about that kind of stuff. And we came up with an idea for a story. One of the guys wrote a script. He and I kind of like workshopped it a little, and then we decided to like, we ran a little Kickstarter campaign to get like $800 to be able to like, buy some props and pay a couple people. We paid a friend that I knew as a music composer. We paid him a couple $100 to make some music for us, and a couple other things like that. But most of the people involved, including our guys that like produced it, just did it out of the kindness of their heart.
Yeah.
And
fun, pretty much.
yeah. And so we made a movie. It was quite an experience. And so now I'm like, boy, I hated that movie, but I can't like hate a movie just like on a soul level, because I'm like, I know what you guys did. It was hard,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Dude, where can I see your film?
I'll send you a link.
Hidden somewhere on the tubes?
I don't. It's not on YouTube. I had it on Vimeo at one point. I don't know. I don't think it's public anymore. But I'll go look, and
I'll post it. I'll definitely post it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's floating out there somewhere. So
love it, dude. Well, dude, it's 10 Mountain. Should we wrap it up here? We've been going for about an hour, about 90 minutes, hour and a half.
Yeah, man,
it's a good jam.
Yeah, it was fun, dude. It's always fun chatting with you. I love all the stoicism and the gladiator stuff. Like, did you see that thing that was kind of like the trend this summer, where like it showed women asking their husbands like, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? Like it was just like the viral thing on TikTok for like a couple of weeks or something, where like women would film themselves going in and asking their husband or their boyfriend or whatever, like, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And the fact that it was never like, none of them were like, oh, never. Like they were all like,
The fact
I
that
don't
it's like
know.
within the like
Yeah.
the like the universe of
Yeah.
plausible like thoughts that would pass through your head. Yeah.
Yeah. They're all like, I don't know, probably like weekly, monthly. And the women are all like, what? Why? And he's like, everyone's just like, I don't know. It's just, but like if you loved Gladiator, it's
Yeah.
gonna pop in here. Like if you read Stoicism, if you're interested in history, so it just yeah, it kind of made me laugh that so much what we talked about was at least loosely in that vein.
Yeah, man.
How often do you think about the Roman Empire, Dan? That's what I want to know. That's what the people want to know.
Never.
Well, you're the first.
Never.
Congratulations. You have broken the mold.
I mean, Gladiator counts, right? So I shouldn't say
Absolutely.
never.
Ben-Hur counts.
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius.
There's a probably like a monthly like thought
Yeah.
that I have around that. Like there's Gladiator and maybe Ben-Hur, some other like little bits of cinema. Um, well, I guess Stoicism is pretty much Roman. Like some of it predates Rome, but that would probably count too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like I would for me, I like the history, but I'm not like so plugged into history stuff that like it's constant for me. But like Stoicism's a thing that will always take me back there because when I read that stuff, I'm trying to understand the context of the existence of the time, right? Um,
Yeah. Do you read all the Ryan Holiday stuff too about that?
I've read some of his books. I'm not I haven't done like the entire catalog or whatever, but I've read a few of his pieces. They're
Yeah.
pretty good.
He's got like the obstacle is the way
Yeah.
and the ego is the enemy. And um, I guess his newsletter is Daily Stoic, right? Like that's what it's
Yes.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are fun little kind of reminders and things and just kind of dailies to get. Although any newsletter I join, I'm like, oh great, for about a month, and then I unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Or no,
Gary V.
I don't unsubscribe. I just like I get it for several months without reading it ever, and then I'm like, okay, I can unsubscribe. But
Yeah.
so
Same.
yeah, like I was high on Daily Stoic for a while, and then I've unsubscribed since. Like I just it's you know
Just too much, dude. Signal versus
yep
noise.
yep
It all becomes like noise eventually.
yep.
Yeah, I think about the Roman Empire, I guess, because of Stoicism, and there's a few like things a week,
Yep.
probably.
See, it's funny. It's like
What was the order of the three, like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca? Like who came first?
I think Epictetus.
Okay, and he was like a pauper or something like that, and then
Yeah.
Seneca was like a teacher, and Marcus Aurelius was the emperor.
Yeah.
Seneca was he became a teacher for like Nero, I think.
Yes.
And Nero was like this boy emperor who kind of was like coming of age, and for a while he held it together and actually did right by his people. And then I think when he like fired Seneca based on some of the like senates, like there was a few people in the Senate that were like, dude, you don't need this old guy like
Right.
trying to like tell you what to do, like get rid of him. And then that's when he started just like this span of wreckage.
Just yeah, burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Epictetus was first.
I
I
think.
don't know.
I'm gonna say that and be dead wrong.
Comment below. If
Yeah.
watching, comment below.
Yep.
I'll just ChatGPT it in like a minute here, and I'll figure
That's
out the
right,
whole story. Like seam together all three. There's all these other people too in Seneca's letters. There's all these like there's probably like 10 or 12 people that he's rattled off just in
Right.
the first dozen letters, where there's like it's like different. I think there's an Epicurus. There's different people that he like references kind of as contemporaries that are also like teaching Stoicism.
Right.
So I'm sure there's like obviously more than three players, but
Check this. I don't know if you can see that.
there's only three that are on the shirt. I know. So
It disappeared. Yeah. Yeah. The big three.
Is that Marcus Aurelius?
That's Epictetus.
Oh, okay.
That was you. Check it. There you are.
Look at that guy. He's wise.
Handsome devil.
Yeah.
Says, my favorite.
Demand the.
How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? So there's your closer. Something to think about.
Dude, next time we talk, I'm gonna have a base. I'm gonna have some opinions about Die Hard and Gladiator 2. Maybe it'll be a new year. Maybe it'll be after
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Go forth, dude.
What was I going to watch? I was going to go watch Neverending Story 2. I got to be honest, dude.
No,
I
you
don't
don't
know
have to watch
I
Neverending
don't know if
Story
I can promise that.
I remember it being boring, dude. I
Yeah.
remember it being like,
Did not have the same like appeal as the first one, certainly.
yeah. The kid like hiding in the attic and just reading the books like to escape the bullies and stuff was just great.
Yeah.
Like the old school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Next level.
Well, dude, fun jamming.
Yeah, dude.
Good Friday night activity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully this all recorded.
Hey, you know what? It was a great chat either way. So,
and if you're one of the 3 people that watches this, like, contact us for your shirt for making it this far.
Yeah, dude. I watched this whole jam session, and
we can't give you 90 minutes of your life back, but we can give you like a crappy shirt.
Yeah.
So let us know.
It's just gonna be a white T-shirt and a Hanes pack. It's not even gonna have anything on it. It's just
like still creased from being out of the package.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You can select sleeveless or not. We'll give you that luxury, but other than that,
dude, that's if this thing ever just blows up and we start selling merch, we need to just list white Hanes T-shirts with nothing on them.
Yep. Give the people what they want, dude.
Why hasn't anybody ever done that? It's amazing.
Everybody needs to see. Like, where'd you get that shirt? You don't listen to the Jam Sesh podcast, dude? Like,
oh, I'm surprised you haven't seen these already.
Yeah,
that's almost kind of embarrassing. Like, please let me help you out,
dude. Can you imagine the baller move that would be to like co-opt white T-shirts? Like, oh, you listen to that? Like, how do you not?
Why weren't we talking about this the entire time?
I know, like, dude, white T-shirts. That's our thing now, man. Like that.
Synonymous.
Yeah.
Just synonymous.
Yep. Like that. Like taking over something as ubiquitous as a white T-shirt. Like that is the goal, truly. So.
Yeah.
A kid can dream. That's all I can say.
For that, I think we're gonna need to have Jesse Black on board.
Yeah.
There's only so much that our combined mental brain power could get us to. He's probably the one to bring in. He's the assassin that we contract
That's right.
with for that.
That's
move.
right. There's something about shoulders as big as basketballs that just can provide the next level there for you. So.
Yeah, man.
All right, dude.
Yeah, well, be well. It's good.
Yep.
Good seeing you.
Until next time.
Until the next time.
Take it easy.
Okay. See ya.